is no accident.
Tonight on Blue Mondays, we have a special video welcome from John Edwards, who was recently in Baton Rouge for the Association of Black Mayors Conference, and where he had a small gathering of supporters. Then we'll hear directly from the senator as to what he would like us to do on Memorial Day weekend. Good evening and welcome to Blue Mondays. Blue Mondays is where we take a look at national, state, and local news through a progressive perspective. On this week's show, as we said at the top of the show, we're going to have a night to talk with John Edwards. John Edwards was recently in the state, and he's going to be coming back on June 10th, so it will definitely be a good time for us to learn more about him. But first, as always, this week in the news. The Republican debates, well, 2 down, and I don't know that we've really learned much. But for better or worse, we're fully into the presidential debates. The Republicans have had 2 full debates thus far, as I said, as of this broadcast, and, well, they definitely got some problems. First, Rudy, their front runner, and also who has been endorsed by Senator Vitter and Congressman Boustany, is unapologetically pro-choice and is causing a great deal of problems for the Republicans because, really, in all honesty, can a pro-choice Republican get the nomination of the party? That is a fair and honest question. And Rudy has been unapologetically pro-choice throughout his entire political career. As a matter of fact, he's been incredibly liberal throughout his entire career, cracking down on gun crimes, doing so much to support the gay and lesbian community. And so the question is, can he really get the nomination? A lot of people are scratching their heads and wondering. Ron Paul and Rudy got into a bit of a scuffle on stage. It seems Rudy agrees with Bush that the terrorists hate us for our freedoms, which that's something I've never really been able to understand. But Ron Paul doesn't see it that way. Take a look.
Suggesting we invited the 9/11 attacks, sir?
I'm suggesting that we listen to the people who attacked us and the reason they did it. And they are delighted that we're over there because Osama bin Laden has said, I am glad you're over on our sand because we can target you so much easier. They have already now, since that time, have killed 3,400 of our men, and I don't think it was necessary.
Wendell, may I make a comment on that? That's really an extraordinary statement. It's an extraordinary statement as someone who lived through the attack of September 11. That we invited the attack because we were attacking Iraq. I don't think I've ever heard that before, and I've heard some pretty absurd explanations for September 11. And I would ask the congressman to withdraw that comment and tell us that he didn't really mean that.
Congressman?
I believe very sincerely that the CIA is correct when they teach and talk about blowback. When we went into Iran in 1953 and installed the Shah, yes, there was blowback. The reaction to that was the taking of our hostages, and that persists. And if we ignore that at our own risk. That if we think that we can do what we want around the world and not incite hatred, then we have a problem. They don't come here to attack us because we're rich and we're free. They come and they attack us because we're over there. I mean, what would we think if if other foreign countries were doing that to us?
Can I have 30 seconds?
Yeah, so much for the Bush mantra that we should not be involved in nation building. That is not something the United States should do. Hello, all we've been doing for the past 5 years is pretty much nation building, and doing a crappy job at that, by the way. Unbelievable. It seans that Congressman Ron Paul went off the approved Rove talking points when he went down this line. But you know what? You gotta really kind of appreciate what the man's saying there. That the Republican Party has basically left them, and they're standing for a whole bunch of stuff just to basically side with this president. Now we've heard that 11 Republicans went up to the White House to chastise Bush and say, look, we're only with you for one more vote. After that, we're done. We're done dealing with this mess that you've gotten us into. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in the coming weeks. Not to be left out, though, Mitt Romney had to try to position himself to the right of, well, I guess Attila the Hun at this point. Romney thinks that we need to double Guantanamo. Oh, dear. You know what? Take a look.
I'd like to draw you out on this.
Yeah, first of all, let's make sure that we understand that the key in electing the next president is to find somebody who will make sure that that scenario doesn't ever happen. And the key to that is prevention. We've all spent a lot of time talking about what happens after the bomb goes off. The real question is, how do you prevent the bomb from going off? And that's what I spent my time doing as a governor over the last 4 years and serving on the Homeland Security Advisory Council. And that means intelligence and counterterrorism. Now, we're going to have, you said the person's going to be in Guantanamo. I'm glad they're at Guantanamo. I don't want them on our soil. I want them in Guantanamo when they don't get the access to lawyers they get when they're on our soil. I don't want them in our prisons. I want them there. Some people have said we ought to close Guantanamo. My view is we ought to double Guantanamo. We ought to make sure that the terrorists... and there's no...
You know, torture by any other name, I don't care what you call it. You can call it severe, intense interrogation. You can call it interrogation by other methods. Unbelievable. If you watch 60 Minutes just this past week, you will see one of the interrogators who was former Army, but was brought in as a contractor so that they couldn't have any rules thrown at them, I suppose, resigned because he couldn't take what they were asking him to do. It's really subhuman, and you have to ask yourself the question, not only who could be conducting this type of torture, but then who would be ordering this type of torture? It just doesn't seem to be that this is the America that we fought and died for, not in World War I or World War II. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Have we seen all of the Republicans enter the race yet? Well, I don't know about that. Newt Gingrich seems to be making a talk show circuit, saying he will decide this fall if he's going to get in or not. Well, answer to that is Newt doesn't want to be left out, and he wants to make a few headlines, and so he's going to toy around with this idea, but I don't see him getting into the race. And then, of course, we have Fred Thompson. Fred Thompson of Law and Order fame as running for, is possibly running for, he's actually formed an exploratory committee to see if he should become a candidate. It's really funny, though, to me, when you actually look at the Republicans. The Republican poll numbers show that almost 60% of Republicans are not happy with the pool of candidates that they actually have. That's not good for the Republicans at this time of the game. That is for sure. So the question is, however Fred Thompson, however he decides he's going to run or not, either way, I don't see much helping the Republican slate for this to go around. Time's top 100 influential people in the world. Well, you know what? I don't know if this is a comment on Time magazine itself or if it's a comment on our president, but President Bush did not make the list. For the first time in Time's existence, I believe, that the President of the United States did not actually make the top 100. So the question becomes, when the President is not on there, but yet Justin Timberlake is, this was not a list of most famous people or most people that you'd want to hang around and have a beer with. This is supposedly influential people, and I don't know about you, but President, whether you like him or not, should have at least been on this list. Time, I think you screwed up. I really do. Here's Jack Cafferty, though, on what he had to say about this kerfuffle.
President Bush, Wolf, has been bumped. This year, for the first time, he failed to make the cut of Time magazine's list of 100 most influential people in the world. The President of the United States missing. This is a list that encompasses people including leaders, revolutionaries, scientists, heroes, builders, artists, entertainers, musicians. Oprah Winfrey, Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice, both on the list 4 years in a row, more than anyone else. Other names to make the list this year include Osama bin Laden, New York Mayor Michael Bloomberg, Senator Hillary Clinton, Pope Benedict XVI, California Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger, Apple founder and CEO Steve Jobs, Virgin Airways CEO Richard Branson, businessman Warren Buffett, Al Gore, model Tyra Banks, actors Leonardo DiCaprio, Brad Pitt, George Clooney, and Sacha Baron Cohen is the guy who plays Borat. musician Justin Timberlake, Rosie O'Donnell, and the New York City subway hero Wesley Autry. All these people on the list of most influential people in the world, the President of the United States is not there. Here's the question.
Jerry Falwell dies. Jerry Falwell, former head of the Moral Majority, died this past week in his office. Falwell, you may know, rose to fame during the Reagan years when he was really one of the first televangelists. He actually kind of created the job and the job description that has come to be under so much scrutiny. He then went on to found the Moral Majority, which is largely credited for helping elect Ronald Reagan in the first place to the White House. However, ever since the Reagan era, the Moral Majority hasn't been so much in the majority anymore. It seems to me that they completely forgot half of the teachings of the Bible. It seems to me like they're very, very concerned on Leviticus, but they have completely forgotten the New Testament altogether in their moral majority. Perhaps that's why they're no longer in the majority. But no matter what can be said, Falwell definitely fought for what he believed in. The question is, really, did he contribute to society in a positive way? I guess that there is only one person who can make that decision, and that is you, individually. So, what we decided to do was, we're going to bring you a few of his quotes. Here are a few of the Reverend's quotes throughout the year. Take a look.
We got to kill the terrorists before the killing stops, and I'm for the president. Chase them all over the world. If it takes 10 years, blow them all away in the name of the Lord.
In a related issue, there is a growing movement to take on the scriptures and divine the real meaning of them. There have been some very, very prominent theologians that have actually been questioning what the Bible truly does mean, especially on the topic of homosexuality. We found an interesting website that has just popped up. It's called Would Jesus Discriminate? We'd like you to take a look at this clip that appears on their website. Take a look.
Would you give me 3 minutes of your time to consider 3 critical questions? First, as we look back over history, do you believe we Christians have ever been wrong on important theological issues? Well, of course, today, we know the answer is yes. Classic examples include supporting slavery, opposing the right of women to vote, opposing interracial marriage. The sad truth is, for hundreds of years, the vast majority of Christians were on the wrong side of each of those issues. And people who took the other side were often accused of being unscriptural, of trying to overthrow God's natural creation order. Which brings me to the second question. How is it possible that so many good-hearted Christians could have been so wrong? Clearly, the Bible didn't change. The problem was they allowed deeply ingrained cultural prejudices to distort their interpretation of the Scriptures on each of those issues. It really isn't hard to see how this could have happened. For all of human history, slavery had been regarded as an established institution. It just seemed to be part of God's natural creation. For all of human history, women had been denied the right to vote. This, too, just seemed to be part of God's natural order. Today, we realize just how wrong we were and pray that we will never make that kind of mistake again. Which leads to the last question. Is it possible that history is repeating itself? Could most Christians be wrong again today when they say that God condemns homosexual relationships? Jesus Christ is my Lord and my Savior, and yet I am a gay man. All I want is to serve God, to find a loving life partner, and to have a Christian home. And so people like me are asking people like you to consider whether there is room at the table for us. This book, God's holy word, is very precious to me. I would never choose to live in a way that I believed was contrary to it. I believe God's Word affirms me, just as I believe Christ affirms me. And I would like to invite you to look at the evidence that convinced me, the scriptural evidence that you will find on this website. Will you do that? There are lives, precious lives at stake. We simply cannot afford to be wrong again.
Definitely some very interesting questions raised. I was brought up in a Methodist church, and in our church teachings, we were never taught ever to judge. That is not our right. We are not there to pass judgment on our neighbors in any remote stretch of the imagination. What we were supposed to do is to live our life in a model way that actually shows the caring and the kindness, and really to model our lives truly after Jesus Christ. The question is, very simply, would Jesus discriminate? And I think, again, you're going to have to come up with your own answers to that. That's an individual and personal question. And a lot of times we don't talk about religion on this show, so I hope tonight has been at least a little bit helpful and has raised some questions for you. Senator Boxer takes on Lindsey Graham, Senator Lindsey Graham. Well, you know what? Boxer outlines quite well the positions of the American people, not just those of the Republicans. It's funny to see how fast Graham is running from the Bush policies. You'll see him trying to literally tie himself into a pretzel in this interview of trying to distance himself from the policies and the failures of the Bush administration in its conducting of the war in Iraq. But then you also see him trying to then support the surge and support trying to, I don't know, take a look.
Surge is in its infant stages. Everyone's not on the ground yet. It's our last best chance. Let's don't undercut it. Let's don't declare this war lost, because you're telling Petraeus and all these soldiers that Barbara just talked about, they're losers. They have not had the opportunity to implement this new strategy. Right. And if I may finish my thought, those who, no matter how well-intentioned, are calling for our withdrawal, deadlines and timelines that inform the enemy about how to beat us, are in fact the authors of a greater war. Bush administration screwed this up early on by not having enough troops. I support the surge. I'll take the consequences of its failure. Give it a chance. But if it all fails, we're going to have a bigger war.
Well, let Senator Boxer respond.
I don't know anyone who opposes this war that ever said our troops are losers. Our troops are winners.
Harry Reid did.
They did. Excuse me. He never said our troops are losers. Now, Lindsey, just be careful what you say. The bottom line here is the losers are the ones who have, engineered this war, made a huge mistake. Dick Cheney, we're in the last throes. The war will last 6 months, and all of you who have supported this escalation and have turned us away from fighting Al-Qaeda into putting us in the middle of a civil war. Now,
see, this is the kind of crap that these guys do all the time, okay? They make something up, and then they fight and fight and fight to say that it's true. Never once in anyone's lips, or could anyone even possibly imagine that Senator Reid, or for that matter, any congressional or Senate Democrats, would ever say that our troops are losers. That is utterly ridiculous. Utterly ridiculous. The only thing that we have said is that this administration, this president, by going it alone and by fighting the way that he's fighting and not listening to the American people, refusing to listen to the military leaders on the ground, refusing to listen to the American population and the world population for that matter, by doing it by himself and by running this war the way that he is forcing our military leaders to make decisions on the ground that are almost completely impossible for them to be able to sustain. That is the problem. Our troops are fighting the good fight. They're doing what they've been asked to do. They are giving it a valiant effort. Heck, they're overperforming in a lot of standards. The problem is, though, we're not giving them the equipment still. The problem is that they're getting poor direction and being forced into an almost untenable situation. That is the problem. That is the problem. And so Senator Graham and all those of you of your ilk who want to call out and call names and start putting words in people's mouth, perhaps you should first worry about what the true problem is. And that is our policy, our foreign policy right now that has literally been flushed down the toilet in this administration. Obviously, this administration thinks that diplomacy is for sissies, and they don't want to have have any part of it. Well, it's too bad, because we're going to be suffering from this for years and years to come. Senator John Edwards. Senator Edwards, first off, I just have to be totally and completely honest. I have such a huge degree of respect for this man. This man has done amazing things. You know, when he first ran for president, you know, a lot of people said, you know what, he's kind of green. Kind of like a lot of people are saying right now about Barack Obama. You know, we really were questioning whether he had the experience, whether he had the chops to be able to handle it. And the voters decided. They decided not to send him. But then he was chosen as a VP candidate. Again, thought the world of him. As a matter of fact, I thought he added a lot of credibility to the Kerry camp. But that just wasn't meant to be. However, since running for office, this man has done some amazing things. He has traveled the world. He has gone and asked questions. He's been involved. He's played an active role. He's single-handedly trying to organize people to put together and to come together and say, we must end poverty. There is no reason why anyone, any American citizen, should be living in the squalor that some of our American citizens are. He's actively trying to do something about that. This past week, though, John Edwards was in the state. Actually, he was in Baton Rouge for the annual conference of Black Mayors. I think it's the Black Mayors Association that was in town, and he gave a speech for them, as did most of the presidential candidates. However, the interesting thing was I was actually able to join him in a small event afterwards, a small private event that they had afterwards, and you know what? It was quite amazing. He didn't come in to give us a speech or anything. What he did, he came in and said, after he met with each one of us for about 3 to 5 minutes each, then he went up and he basically said, okay, you know what? I talk enough. I want to hear from you. I want to answer your questions. And what followed was truly amazing. We talked about everything from foreign policy to the role of our diplomats to what we need to do here domestically. The man is quite impressive. It should also be noted that John Edwards was also the first presidential candidate to go on TV with television ads. Not to espouse his credentials and to say why he should be elected president, but no, he actually wanted to give voice to the millions of Americans that think that we need to be doing something different over in Iraq. Here's the clip of the original ad. Take a look.
President Bush isn't listening to us.
It's time to end the war.
Congress passed a plan to end it
and bring our troops home.
But the president vetoed it.
We want Congress to know we are with you.
Don't back down to President Bush.
Send him the same bill again and again.
We, the people, will stand with you. Because stopping a president who believes he can do no wrong
takes people with courage to do what's right.
I'm John Edwards, and I approve this message.
However, after seeing this commercial and people visiting his website, they had so many people that were actually offering to shoot their own versions of this commercial. It's been quite amazing to actually see them coming up on YouTube and taking advantage of the viral technology that's available to us now. Utilizing this technology is quite amazing. So, what we'd like to show you now is, here is a clip of this same commercial, but it was shot by ordinary citizens out in Oregon. Here's the clip. Take a look.
President Bush isn't listening to us.
It's time to end the war.
Congress passed a plan to end it.
And bring our troops home.
But the president vetoed it.
We want Congress to know.
We are with you.
Don't back down to President Bush.
Send him the same bill again and again.
We the people will stand with you.
Because stopping a president who believes he can do no wrong
takes people with courage to do what's right.
Now, in conjunction with these ads, I was on a conference call earlier this past week with Senator Edwards. What he's now calling on is he wants us to do something for the weekend of Memorial Day, to truly make Memorial Day mean something, and for us to pay attention to what the true meaning of Memorial Day really is. So, without any further ado, here's what the senator is asking of us.
This past November, you, America, sent a message to this president, and that message was very clear. Support our troops, do what's right for our troops, and end this war. The president is completely ignoring what you have said to him and what the will of the American people is. So what we're going to do, and what we're asking you to do this Memorial Day weekend, is to speak out, to gather together, reclaim patriotism. George Bush has tried to use patriotism as an excuse for everything he's done, including what's happening in Iraq. We need to reclaim patriotism for America. And America and the world and the President of the United States needs to hear from you. So what we're asking you to do this Memorial Day weekend is to gather together with your friends, to volunteer, to pray, to speak out, and make it clear that we support the troops. We want to honor their sacrifice, that we are incredibly thankful as a nation for what they've done for us in their service in Iraq. And the best way to honor their service and the best way to support them is for the President of the United States to do what America has demanded be done, and that's to end this war. So this Memorial Day weekend, don't stand quietly, don't just go to picnics, don't just gather with your friends. Engage in an act of patriotism. Show how much you love this country, and speak out in support of our troops and bring an end to this war.
Well, I am on board, Senator. I couldn't be more happy to be on board with you. I think that you're doing an amazing job, and I'm definitely signed on to do this. We'll have more information on the senator and more times that he's going to be in state that are coming up. I think that we have a date that's going to be coming up that he'll be here in June. So we're definitely looking forward to seeing him then. I also, as a method of full disclosure, I am officially working with the John Edwards campaign, and I think that they're doing an amazing job. I couldn't be more happy to be working with them as a volunteer to utilize my services to help them out. They're doing an amazing job, amazing job. DFA is coming to Baton Rouge. DFA, as you might recall, is a group called Democracy for America. This group was actually founded by Howard Dean when he decided to withdraw from the presidential race last go around after the famous yeehaw. I can't do it like him, sorry. But after that, when he withdrew, he had all of these people that were still supporting him and wanted to see the changes that he was talking about out on the campaign trail. So he started this group called DFA, Democracy for America. This group is now being headed by his brother, Jim Dean, who's doing an amazing job of actually giving people on the ground the real-life tools that they need to be able to organize and to be able to create a movement. They are much more about not only electing good people to office, but they're talking about creating a movement. No matter if you are a super liberal Democrat or if you're more conservative Democrat, this group is really good. They are also looking at helping out independents as well. But there's definitely some good things going on with that. With this training that they're going to be offering, they're going to be in Baton Rouge on June 2nd and 3rd. They're going to be offering this training. Now, it's a 2-day event, and it's like boot camp. There's a lot of work, and there's a lot of things to learn. But if you're considering running for office in the next 3 to 5 years, if you were considering working on a campaign in the next few months, especially with all the elections that we're going to be having, it is quite good for you to attend this seminar. And here to tell us a little bit more about this seminar is our good friend from Lake Charles, the true Mack Truck of Truth, as they call him over there. Here's Michael McHale to tell us more about the DFA trainings. Here we go.
2nd and 3rd in Baton Rouge, Democracy for America, which is a group which originally started by Governor Howard Dean, is doing a grassroots political training. It's a 2-day event, all day Saturday, all day Sunday. It's relatively inexpensive. It's $60, $30 for a student. And this is really and truly, what they're about is not just winning elections. What they're about is starting a movement, which is something that I think is vitally important in this day and age. You know, politics, it's not going to be like it used to be with just TVs and who spends the most money. Politics is getting back to the grassroots, getting back to the people, going door to door, getting your neighbors involved, getting your friends involved. That's what this type of training is about. If anyone, if you're interested in getting involved in politics, either being a candidate or if you have a particular cause or you just want to get involved, this is a wonderful training for you to come to. This is something that the trainers who at this deal, it's kind of like if you really like baseball, you get to hang around with some major league players for a weekend, and it's a great event. I went to one that they had in Houston, Texas. I can't tell you how much I got out of it and how much I really enjoyed it. Again, I've always believed that politics, if you're going to build a house, you don't start with the attic. If you're going to build a house, you start with a foundation and you build from there up. What this is about, and what I think the Democratic Party is getting back to going from the ground up, from the grassroots, and building up there, neighbor to neighbor, neighborhood to neighborhood. That's the way that we're going to take this country back. We're going to take this country back a block at a time, a street at a time, a neighborhood, a parish, a state, a nation. And we're going to take it back for average working people. This shouldn't be a country of the special interest. This ought to be a country of the people's interest. I'd like to see anybody who is interested in politics. Again, it doesn't matter if you're someone who's looking at running for office at some point in time in the future. It doesn't matter if you're just the type of person who likes to be involved, and if you have a particular cause that you want to push. If you just want to learn more about politics, if you want to learn more about grassroots organizing, the things that they teach you here work not just for politics, but if you had a nonprofit organization that you were trying to recruit volunteers for, or get organized, anybody who is concerned with activism and getting involved in the process, and whether that be pushing a particular issue, getting a particular candidate elected, or getting themselves elected, this is an excellent learning tool for them. You can either go to Southwest Louisiana, SWLA Democrats.org, or you can go to LafayetteDemocrats.org, or if you want to go straight to the Democracy for America site, there, democracyforamerica.com, and then just go to the training section, and you can sign up for the seminar right there online.
For more about this training or DFA in general, you can log on to the Lafayette Democrats website at, of course, LafayetteDemocrats.org. You can then click on the DFA training link that is on that page. You'll definitely want to take a look at that. Also, not to be forgotten about, the local Lafayette Parish Democratic Executive Committee will be hosting an election workshop, or boot camp, if you will. That will be held on June 9th here at AOC, in fact, in the large meeting room. That is the door right that is on the corner of Lee and Main. Come right through those doors, and we will be there. It will be at 9 a.m. till noon. We're going to have a lot of different local elected officials, as well as folks like myself, who will be presenting different campaign tools and methods that you can utilize to not only save you money in running a campaign, but also to make you more effective in what you're trying to accomplish. So it's definitely a shorter version of what they're going to be doing up in Baton Rouge. But if I were you, I would try and attend both. It'll definitely be time well spent. Definitely time well spent. And finally, in our clip of the week, Bill Maher on Real Time. This guy, I just love his show. The clip on the Republican debate at the Ronald Reagan Library. You know what? You just got to see the clip. Here we go.
And now, the Republican presidential debates.
We're in the house of Ronald Reagan.
Ronald Reagan said Ronald Reagan was a president of strength.
Ronald Reagan used to say
those are the things that Ronald Reagan taught us.
Big ideas like Ronald Reagan.
Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan.
Ronald Reagan.
President Reagan.
Ronald Reagan.
Ronald Reagan.
President Reagan.
Ronald Reagan.
Ronald Reagan.
Ronald Reagan.
President Bush.
Great work, Bill. Great work. We truly enjoy your show. Keep up all of the great work. And I think that you're going to be going on a hiatus here for a month or two. We're not looking forward to that, that's for sure. But that has been your progressive news for this week. We greatly thank you for tuning in to us here on AOC. We are on each and every Monday night at 9 p.m. here on AOC Channel 15. You can then also check us out online on our YouTube page at youtube.com/AOC Blue Mondays. There you'll be able to check out our show each and every week. We're doing a much better job of keeping that updated for you so that you can check it out on there. I'd also like to remind you, tomorrow morning, click on over to the Daily Advertiser's website. Anytime after 9 o'clock, they usually have my column up by then. You can click on into the opinion section and then click on my photograph, and you'll be able to read my column of the week. This week, I think I'm going to be talking about some of the local races that are starting to shape up, and specifically District 44, which is going to have, a lot of Democrats running against each other, and it's going to be quite difficult for voters to figure out who they're going to support. You'll definitely want to check that column out. Also, we'd like to remind you, Democracy Now!, which is an amazing program of decorporatized media, I guess you could say. They do an amazing job of putting together and bringing real people into their studios to talk about real issues that are happening. These are really the newsmakers and shapers from throughout the world. They're a great organization. You should check them out. They are on AOC Channel 16 every day, every weekday that is, at 11 a.m. and 11 p.m. You'll definitely want to support them and check them out. And with that, we will be right back.